A stranger sent me a gift when I was 12. I never expected him to find me again. Well, I never thought a stranger from another continent would change the direction of my entire life. But the truth is, my story didn't begin the day I met him. It began 14 years earlier, with a small box and the smile of a boy who had no idea he was saving me. I kept his picture hidden for more than a decade, through storms, through hunger, through nights when I cried quietly so my little brother wouldn't hear, through seasons where hope felt like a luxury. And then, one ordinary morning, I opened an old wooden chest, and there it was again, his face. The boy who once sent me the only Christmas gift I received that entire year. A boy whose name I'd whispered like a prayer when I was 12. AIDEN. I'm Maya, and what I'm about to share is a fictional story inspired by real events, with names and details changed to protect the hearts behind it. But before I tell you everything, before I explain how a childhood gift turned into the most unexpected reunion of my adult life, let me say this. If you're new here, welcome to Possible Hearts. This is where real stories meet real hearts. If you feel connected to mine already, I'd love if you subscribed, hit the like button, and told me in the comments where in the world you're watching from. Because stories like this, stories of fate, childhood memories, healing, long-lost connections, they remind us how small the world really is. But back to that morning.
I remember dust floating in the sunbeams, tiny particles dancing like they were celebrating the moment before I even understood what was happening. I was cleaning the top shelf of my mother's old room, an annual chore I usually hated. But that day, something tugged at me. I don't know why I reached for the wooden chest. I hadn't opened it in years. Its hinges creaked like some forgotten door in an abandoned house. And there, beneath a bundle of letters, lay the edges of a photograph. My breath caught. My fingers froze. For a second, I didn't want to pull it out. Isn't it strange how sometimes we fear the things that once gave us comfort, as if touching them might break the spell that kept us alive? But I did. I lifted the photo into the light. A boy around 10, freckles scattered across his nose, hair a messy light brown that didn't know whether it wanted to be straight or wavy, and that smile, wide, earnest, the kind a child gives when he still believes the world is kind and that kindness can fix things. Behind him, he held a small drawing, uneven, colorful, where in blocky letters he had written, "Never lose hope." My knees gave in. I sat on the floor, and suddenly I was 12 again. It had been the hardest year of my childhood. My father had gone to the city to work and stopped calling. My mother was doing everything she could, but the storms had destroyed most of our fishing boats. We were barely eating. I remember praying for anything, just a sign that life wasn't always going to be this dark. And then a box arrived at the village center. A Christmas box. A childhood gift from a stranger. Inside were things that felt impossible for a girl like me to hold. Colored pencils, a small metal toy car, a soap that smelled like flowers instead of hard labor. But what I remember most was the picture. The boy who smiled like he believed in me without even knowing me. I slept with that picture under my pillow for weeks. Sometimes I pretended he was talking to me, telling me life wouldn't always be like this, telling me that people could be good, telling me that someday things would change. But childhood passes, pictures fade into drawers, hope gets replaced by responsibility, and somewhere along the way, I tucked him inside that chest and forgot where I put the key. Until that morning. I traced the photograph with my thumb, feeling the worn edges. There were tiny scratches across his shirt, years of friction from being moved around, but his smile hadn't changed. It still looked like possibility, and that's when a thought came. A small, trembling thought that scared me with how loud it felt inside my chest. What if I could find him? What if the boy who once sent me hope was still out there? Immediately, fear answered. What if he didn't remember? What if he thought I was crazy? What if he'd become someone who wouldn't care? I closed my eyes and leaned my head against the wall, the wood cool against my skin. My heart was doing that thing it does when a decision is pulling at you before you're ready to admit it. I don't believe in coincidences. I never have. And that morning felt too meaningful to ignore. So I got up, walked to my small desk, opened my laptop. My hands trembled as I typed his name, AIDEN Miller, the name written in faint blue ink on the original card that came with the gift.
Millions of results. So many Aidens, so many Millers, too many faces that weren't his. I almost gave up, but then I saw it. A profile picture on a small, dusty Facebook account. A man leaning against a truck, wearing a baseball cap, older, broader shoulders, but the eyes were the same. My heart squeezed so hard I thought it might stop. I clicked, and without letting myself think too much, I typed the message that would change my life. Hi, I think you might be the boy who once sent me a gift that changed my life. I stared at it for a long time before hitting send, and when I finally did, I had no idea that those 16 words would pull him back into my world. No idea they would reopen wounds he'd buried. No idea they would lead to a journey neither of us was prepared for. I hit send, closed my laptop, and then I waited and waited and waited. 3 days passed, and he didn't answer. But on the 4th day, everything changed. On the 4th morning, I woke up before the sun. I don't know why. Maybe my heart knew something was coming before my mind did. The sky outside my window was still a soft blue-gray, the kind of color that makes you feel like the world hasn't fully woken up yet. I sat up in bed, hugging my knees, listening to the distant sound of ocean waves breaking against the shore. My phone buzzed once. Just once. My heartbeat jumped so violently, I almost dropped it. I don't know what I expected. Maybe a message from my mother, or a weather alert, or one of those meaningless notifications apps love sending at dawn. But as soon as I unlocked it, I saw his name, AIDEN Miller. It felt unreal. Like I had stepped into the kind of emotional reunion story people talk about online, those long-lost connection tales about finding someone again after years. Only this time, I was the one living it. My throat tightened as I opened the message. It was short. Hi, I'm not sure if you've got the right person. Can you tell me more? I stared at the screen for a long moment. His words were polite, cautious, like someone knocking on a door they weren't sure they wanted to open. I typed slowly, hands trembling. Your name was on a Christmas box I received when I was 12. There was a photo inside. You were holding a drawing that said, "Never lose hope." I never forgot it. I pressed send before fear could stop me. He read it almost immediately. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then I did send a box like that when I was a kid, but wow, I haven't thought about that in years. For a second, I didn't breathe. He remembered. Vaguely, maybe, but he remembered. And something about that made my eyes burn. I wrote back, "It came at a time when my family was struggling a lot. Your gift brought me hope, when nothing else did." This time, the typing bubbles didn't appear right away. Seconds stretched. A full minute. 2. When his reply arrived, it was longer. I'm really glad it meant something to you. Honestly, I barely remember the details. My mom signed us up for some Christmas outreach when I was around 10. I picked a few toys, and I think she suggested adding a photo. I barely remember who I was back then. His honesty hit me. Not the words themselves, but the tone. There was a heaviness in it, something tired, like the weight of adulthood pressing against the edges of his sentences. I wrote, "I kept your picture. I still have it." His response came fast. "You kept what?" I smiled, a shy, embarrassed curve of my lips. "Your photo." A pause. Then, "Why?" There it was. The question I knew would come. The one that made my chest tighten, because how do you explain to someone that a childhood gift from a stranger became your lifeline? How do you admit something that tender without sounding foolish?
I typed, deleted, retyped, because it reminded me that the world could be kind, even when my world didn't feel like it. I waited. When his reply came, it surprised me. That's really something. I don't think anyone's ever said anything like that to me. His next message came just seconds later, almost as if he hadn't meant to let it slip. I don't know if I deserve that kind of meaning. I froze. What kind of man says something like that? Someone gentle? Someone wounded? Someone who had once believed in hope but lost touch with it? Without thinking, I wrote, "You were only a boy. You didn't have to deserve anything. You just gave what you had." He didn't answer right away. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I got up, washed my face, paced around my room. Every sound seemed louder. The hum of the fan, the distant roosters, the sound of my brother playing outside. When my phone finally buzzed again, my pulse jumped. "Can I ask something?" I replied, "Of course." He wrote, "Did it really matter that much? I mean, a box of random toys?" The question wasn't dismissive. It was vulnerable. Aiden felt like someone who didn't trust that good things he had done were real, or that they mattered. I took a breath and typed. When you're a child living through something hard, even small things feel big. And that Christmas, you were my reminder that life wasn't just survival. You were a stranger who made me feel seen. I hit send. Seconds later, his reply came. "Thank you for telling me that." A full minute of silence. Then another message. "I'm sorry if I took a long time to answer you at first. I thought your message might be fake." I laughed softly. Relief slipped through my chest like warm water. "I figured," he answered. "I'm glad I was wrong." For the first time since I found the photograph, I let myself feel it. The spark. The beginning of something unexpected. A thread pulling us towards a story neither of us knew we were stepping into. We talked a little longer that morning. About his childhood in South Dakota, about mine in a small coastal village. Nothing deep, nothing romantic. Just human connection. A long-lost connection turning into something present. Something warm. But then, just when everything felt easy, he sent a message that made my stomach tighten. Can I be honest? I'm not usually someone who believes in fate or destiny or any of that. Life hasn't exactly proven those things to me. I hesitated, thumb hovering above the screen. I knew what I felt. I knew what that photograph meant. But before I could answer, another message came. Short, sharp, impossible to ignore. "But you finding me, it's messing with everything I thought I knew." I swallowed hard, because I knew exactly what he meant. But before I could reply, my phone buzzed again. A video call request. From him. My breath caught. This wasn't part of the plan. The screen lit up with his name. Aiden Miller is calling. My breath stopped somewhere high in my chest. We had exchanged messages, brief, careful, warm in that shy, unexpected way that strangers sometimes stumble into. But a video call? That was something entirely different. I stared at my phone like it was something dangerous. My hands were shaking so hard, I thought I might drop it. I didn't answer. Not immediately. For almost 20 seconds, I just watched it ring, watched his name flashing across the screen like a question I wasn't ready to answer. Why was he calling? Why now? Why so suddenly? I pressed my phone to my chest and closed my eyes. Somewhere outside, someone was frying breakfast. The scent of garlic and rice drifted through the window. Children were laughing in the courtyard.
Life was normal, completely normal, but inside me, something was shifting. After the seventh ring, the screen went dark. He hung up. I exhaled, trembling, and only then realized I'd been holding my breath for far too long. A few seconds later, his message came. Sorry, that was impulsive. You don't have to answer. I didn't think. It wasn't disappointment I heard in those words. It was embarrassment, a soft, apologetic self-consciousness that made my heart twist. I typed slowly, "It's okay. I just wasn't expecting a call." He replied instantly, "Neither was I." Then another message. "I just wanted to hear what your voice sounded like." Heat rushed to my cheeks, a soft, stunned warmth, the kind that blooms when someone sees you deeper than you expected. I sat back against my bed frame, the wooden slats cool against my spine. The morning sun had brightened, casting gold against my floor. Everything suddenly looked sharper, more alive. I typed, "Maybe we can call later." He answered, "Only if you want to." And I did, more than I could admit.
That afternoon, we talked again through messages, slowly, carefully, in that vulnerable, half-afraid way people talk when something new is forming between them, and neither wants to scare it away. He told me about his job as a mechanic, how he liked fixing things that had clear problems and clear solutions, unlike people, unlike life. I told him about teaching English to local children, about how they laughed at my accents and hugged me without hesitation. We compared winters, his endless and brutal, mine mild and wet. At one point, he sent a picture of the Montana sky, a deep blue stretching endlessly over fields. I sent him a picture of my coastline, bright sea, tangled nets, painted boats lined like tired soldiers. He wrote, "Your world looks peaceful." I laughed. "Your world looks huge." But under all those simple exchanges, something unspoken stirred. A pull, a curiosity, a feeling that the childhood gift story we shared was no longer just history. It was becoming something alive. By early evening, he asked, "Can I call now? Doesn't have to be video, just voice." This time, I didn't hesitate. "Yes." My phone vibrated. I answered on the first ring. For a moment, neither of us spoke. All I heard was his breathing, steady, warm, close, and the crackle of a distant Montana wind. Then, "Hi," he said, his voice deeper, quieter, and softer than I imagined. "Hi," I whispered back. It was a small word, but it didn't feel small. It felt like opening a door. He chuckled nervously. I don't really know how to do this." "Me neither." "He didn't want to make you uncomfortable earlier. This whole thing, you finding me again after 14 years, it's strange, in a good way." I picked at the edge of my pillowcase. "It feels like something from a story." "Yeah," he murmured. "Except stories usually happen to other people." There was a pause, a warm, lingering silence that felt less like emptiness and more like breath held between two people standing close. Then he asked a question I wasn't expecting. "Do you still have the photo? The one I sent?" I swallowed. "Yes." "Can you show me?" For a moment, I couldn't speak, because showing him the photo wasn't just a casual thing. It meant exposing how much of myself I'd tied to that image over the years, how it had been hope when I had nothing else, and how a single childhood gift had quietly shaped who I became. "Let me find it," I whispered. I walked to my desk, heart pounding, opened the wooden chest again, and held the picture in my hands. Worn edges, faded smile, but still him. Still the boy who sent hope. I switched our call to video and held the photograph up. His face on screen instantly changed. His eyes widened, the same shade of soft blue as in the old photo. but tired in a way adulthood carves into people who have lived more life than they expected to by 29. He said, "That's wow," he breathed. "I haven't seen that picture in, God, I don't even know how long." His voice cracked in a way he tried to hide, and then his expression shifted from surprise to confusion to something heavier, something like regret. "Aiden?" I asked gently, but he didn't answer immediately. His eyes weren't on the photo anymore. They were somewhere far away, locked in a memory that hurt. Finally, he whispered, "I can't believe you kept that, especially knowing what was happening in my life back then. You don't know what that picture meant for me." I frowned softly. "What do you mean?" His jaw tightened. "Maya, that picture wasn't taken during a happy moment. There's a whole part of that day I never talk about." A heaviness filled his voice, a heaviness that wasn't there before. I opened my mouth, but before I could say anything, he added, "This might change how you see that gift, how you see me." My heart skipped. "Aiden, what happened?" I whispered. He exhaled shakily, but before he could answer, my signal stuttered. The screen froze and the line dropped completely. His face disappeared. The line went dead, and I didn't know yet that what he was about to tell me would become the first real fracture between us.
The call didn't just drop, it died. 1 second, Aiden was there, eyes heavy with something he wasn't ready to say, and the next, the screen went black, leaving only my own reflection staring back at me, wide-eyed and breathless. "Aiden?" I whispered into nothing. I tried calling him back. Once, twice, 3 times. Each time, the same mechanical voice answered, "Call failed." I stared at the phone, feeling a pit open slowly in my stomach. What had he been about to tell me? What could make a man's voice shake like that over something as innocent as a childhood picture? My mind spun with questions. Dark ones, hopeful ones, impossible ones. The ocean outside was turning orange with the sunset. Villagers were calling to each other, fishermen returning with nets slung over their shoulders. Life kept moving, but inside me, everything had paused. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A message. "Sorry, power outage on my side. I'm back now." I exhaled so suddenly, it was almost a sob. Before I could reply, another message arrived. About what I said earlier, I think I should explain. My fingers hovered over the keys. "I'm here. Tell me." There was a long pause. Then, that photo, it was taken right after the worst fight my parents ever had. I sat down slowly. He continued, "I know it looks like a happy memory, but the truth is, my dad had just walked out. My mom was trying not to cry while she asked me to smile for the camera. Something sharp twisted inside my chest. A child smiling on command, holding a picture he drew himself, believing his small gesture would mean something to someone he'd never meet. I typed gently, "I'm so sorry. You never said." "I've never told anyone," he replied. "That day, I had to pretend everything was fine. For the camera, for my mom, for myself." My heart ached. We always imagined the people who helped us were the strong ones, but sometimes they were breaking too. He sent another message. "I think that's why I put in the drawing. Never lose hope." I think I was reminding myself more than the kid who jit the box. I pressed a hand against my mouth. It felt like the universe had braided our childhoods together with threads neither of us could see. His pain, my hunger, his brokenness, my loneliness. I typed, "Your hope reached me, even if you were losing yours." A long silence followed. Then he wrote, "I didn't want you to see me differently because of that." I stared at the message, stunned. Differently? How could I? If anything, his honesty had carved space inside me I didn't know I had. I typed slowly, "It doesn't change anything. If anything, it makes the gift even more meaningful." Another pause. Then, "I keep thinking, what are the odds that a photo taken on one of the worst days of my childhood ended up keeping you going through yours? I whispered to myself, maybe life isn't about odds. I typed back, maybe fate really does exist. His reply came instantly, almost breathlessly. I want to believe that, but I've had years of thinking nothing extraordinary ever happens to me. For a moment, I didn't know what to say, because I could hear it, the quiet sadness buried inside him, the feeling of being ordinary, invisible, unchosen. I knew that feeling, more than he realized. So I typed, then maybe this isn't about something extraordinary happening to you. Maybe it's about something extraordinary happening through you. He didn't answer. Not for a long while. I sat there, heart thudding, wondering if I'd said too much, too soon. Then finally, he replied, Maya, do you really think us reconnecting after all these years means something? The question hit me right where I lived, because believing in meaning was the thread my whole life was woven from. That childhood gift, that old photograph, the unexpected message, these weren't coincidences to me. They were signs. Still, I swallowed, trying to speak truth and not wishful thinking. I typed, I don't know what it means yet, but I feel something. Don't you? He didn't respond with words. Instead, he sent a voice message. My fingers trembled as I pressed play. His voice was quiet, raw around the edges. Yeah, I feel something, and that scares me. The honesty in that single line nearly unraveled me. For several seconds, I couldn't speak. My throat was tight, my breath shallow. Finally, I typed, why does it scare you? The 3 typing dots appeared, paused, appeared again. Then his message came, because this feels like the beginning of something, and beginnings haven't been kind to me. I closed my eyes. I knew what he meant. My own beginnings were carved from hunger, uncertainty, and hope that felt too fragile to touch. So I wrote, every story has a beginning, but we get to choose what comes next. His reply came almost instantly. 3 simple words that hit like a heartbeat finally syncing with another. Can I trust that? Before I could answer, my bedroom door burst open. Maya, you need to come, now! I turned, startled. Her face was pale, eyes wide with panic. What happened? It's your mother. My phone slipped from my hand, and just like that, the world I was building with AIDEN collided violently with the world I'd tried so hard to hold together.
I don't remember running down the stairs. I don't remember grabbing my shoes or the blur of the courtyard as I rushed past the neighbors. All I remember was the pounding in my chest, the echo of my cousin's voice. It's your mother. My legs carried me faster than my thoughts. By the time I reached our small community clinic, my breath was burning in my throat. The building smelled like disinfectant and sea air, something sharp, something salty. A nurse saw me and frowned. Maya, she's in room 2. Room 2. That was where they took people who needed immediate attention, but not emergency transport. The kind of room that meant serious, but unclear. I pushed the curtain aside, my heart thudding. My mother lay on a narrow bed, propped up with a thin pillow. Her skin looked pale, almost gray around the edges. A small oxygen tube rested under her nose. Her hands, usually so strong, so busy, trembled slightly. Ma? My voice broke before I reached her side. She opened her eyes slowly. Anak, why are you crying? I'm fine. She smiled that gentle, stubborn smile she always used when things were not fine. I took her hand. Please don't pretend. She tried to sit up straighter, but winced. The doctor quickly stepped forward. She needs rest, he said. Her blood pressure spiked. She collapsed at the market. My fingers tightened around hers. Is she going to be okay? She will, with proper care. but she needs to avoid stress for now. Stress? A word my mother had lived with every day of her life. I nodded, swallowing the ache in my throat. I'll make sure she rests. The doctor left, and silence settled around us like a fragile blanket. My mother squeezed my hand weakly. You were talking to someone when they called you. Who was it? I hesitated. Of all the times she could have asked, this moment felt too delicate, too vulnerable. But lying to her? That was something I never did. Someone from many years ago. Someone who once helped me without knowing. She studied my face, her eyes still sharp despite the exhaustion. A boy? She asked, one eyebrow lifting. Heat crept into my cheeks. I didn't say yes, but I didn't deny it either. Her smile was small, but knowing. You always believed in signs, Maya. Just be careful. The heart is soft. I knew. God, I knew.
I stayed with my mother until she fell asleep. By the time I stepped outside, the sky was deep blue, scattered with stars. The air smelled like monsoon rain about to arrive. Only then did I remember my phone. I pulled it from my bag, 5 missed messages from AIDEN. My stomach twisted. The last one was, Maya, is everything okay? Please tell me you're all right. My throat tightened. I recorded a voice message, my voice still shaking. I'm here. I'm okay. My mother collapsed. I'm sorry I disappeared. I was scared. I sent it. Almost instantly, he called. This time, I answered on the first ring. Maya? His voice was raw, worried. God, I thought something happened to you. I swallowed hard. She's stable now. They said it was stress. Do you need anything? He asked softly. Do you want me to stay on the phone? Something inside me melted. He wasn't a boy in a photograph anymore. He wasn't a childhood memory. He was a man offering presence. Not solutions, not empty promises, just presence. Yes, I whispered. Stay. We talked gently while I walked home. I told him about my mother. He told me about his own, about how she'd worked 2 jobs after his dad left, how he'd learned to cook because no one else could. As he spoke, I realized something. Our childhoods were different, but the weight of them wasn't. We both grew up knowing how fragile adults could be. Halfway home, he asked, Are you sure you're okay? I am now, I whispered. There was a pause, a quiet, intimate pause that felt like a hand brushing against mine. Then softly, Maya, I wish I were there. I stopped walking. Why? I asked, my voice barely a breath. He exhaled, the sound trembling. Because it feels wrong to be thousands of miles away when you're going through something hard. A lump rose in my throat. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to tell him that just hearing his voice was enough to keep my heart steady. Before I could answer, he said something that made the world tilt slightly beneath me. I know we barely started talking, but I feel connected to you. More than makes sense. My breath caught. AIDEN. He said quickly. Too much too soon. I'm sorry. No, I whispered. It's not too much. I feel it too. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of possibility, full of fear, full of something tender and real. AIDEN was the first one to break it. Maya, he said quietly, after hearing your voice today and everything that happened, I keep thinking the same thing. What? That I need to see you. In person. Soon. My heart slammed against my ribs. I stopped dead in the middle of the road. AIDEN, what are you saying? He took a deep breath on the other end of the line. I'm saying I want to fly to your country. The world froze. I felt the monsoon wind pick up around me, thick with rain and electricity. You want to come here? I whispered. Yes, he said. I think fate has already done its part. Now it's time for us to do ours. My knees almost gave out. I gripped the strap of my bag to steady myself. AIDEN, this is huge. I know, he said.
But I can't ignore this. Not anymore. My pulse hammered. This was happening too fast, too soon, too beautifully, too dangerously. I opened my mouth, not even sure what I would say. Wait, Aiden said suddenly. There's something you should know before you answer. My breath stopped. What is it? His voice dropped, hoarse and conflicted. There's one part of my past, one thing I never told you, and if I come there, you'll find out. I don't want it to blindside you. My heart pounded. Aiden, what are you talking about? A long, painful silence. Then, Maya, I'm not the man you think I am.
I'm not the man you think I am. Those words didn't just land in my ears, they sank like a stone into my ribcage. I stood frozen in the narrow village street, the evening wind cooling the sweat on my neck, my heartbeat so loud it drowned the distant sound of motorcycles and waves. What do you mean? I whispered. On the other end, Aiden exhaled, a long, unsteady breath that told me this wasn't something he could say easily. Maya, I want to come see you. I want that more than I've wanted anything in a long time. But if I do, you're going to learn things about me that I've spent years trying to forget. A cold shiver crawled up my spine. What things? Silence. Aiden, I'm trying to figure out where to start, he murmured. My pulse throbbed. 1,000 fears ran through my mind, none of them fair, but all of them human. Was he married? Did he have a child? A criminal record? A broken past he'd kept buried? He continued before I could speak. You know how I told you my dad left when I was 10? Yes. Well, he didn't just walk out. He walked out on me. Something inside me flinched. What do you mean? Another long exhale. He told my mom he didn't want a son, that I was nothing like him, too sensitive, too quiet, too emotional, whatever word he wanted to use that day. A bitter laugh slipped from him. He left us because he didn't want to be responsible for loving me. My hand clamped over my mouth. I knew abandonment. I'd lived through it in my own way, but the way he said it made my chest tighten. Aiden, I'm so sorry. That's just part of it, he said softly, and it affects everything. How I trust, how I believe in people, how I see myself. His voice dropped to a near whisper. How I see you. My breath caught. How do you see me? Another heavy silence. I could hear him breathing, steady but tense, like a man testing the weight of his own confession. You're light, he said finally, and I'm scared I'll ruin that. My eyes stung. You won't. I might, he whispered. People leave me, or I push them away before they can. My heart twisted. Not with pity, never pity, but with recognition. We were two people shaped by different kinds of loss, different kinds of fear, but the same kind of longing. Aiden, I said softly, you're not your father. He didn't believe me. I could hear it in the way he inhaled, sharp and disbelieving. That's not the only thing you need to know, he continued. There's something else, something bigger. My stomach nodded. Tell me. You remember how I said I work as a mechanic? Yes. Well, that's not the whole story. I'm not just a mechanic. I'm barely getting by. I've been drowning in debt for years. Medical bills for my mom and... He hesitated. And some bad decisions I made when I was younger. The wind stilled, as if the world was listening. What kind of bad decisions? I asked gently. He sighed, deep, pained, ashamed. I dropped out of college after a year, tried to prove I could do everything on my own, ended up sleeping in my truck for 2 months. I still owe money. I'm not stable, Maya. I'm not the kind of man who has his life together. His voice wavered, barely audible, and I don't want you to think I'm someone you can depend on. I'm trying to become better, but I'm still far from it. My heart cracked open, because here he was, offering me the pieces of himself he didn't show anyone, the messy parts, the parts he thought made him unworthy. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply through the ache. "Aiden," I said softly, "I never thought you were perfect." He let out a strained laugh. "Good, 'cause I'm definitely not." But I didn't reach out because I was looking for perfection. I reached out because I remembered kindness. I reached out because something inside me said I needed to, and I'm glad I did. He went silent, a silence full of emotion. I could picture him sitting on the edge of his bed, elbows on his knees, running his hand through his hair like he always did when his thoughts got tangled. When he finally spoke, his voice broke completely. "I don't want to disappoint you." "You haven't," I whispered. "You say that now," he murmured. "But if you saw the life I live, my tiny apartment, the stacks of bills, the emptiness I come home to, Maya, I'm not the kind of man a woman waits for." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "You're the boy who once sent hope to a girl who needed it, and you're the man who stayed on the phone with me when I was scared for my mother. That means more to me than any perfect life ever could." He breathed out shakily. "Maya, something is shifting between us. Gently, dangerously, beautifully." But there was still fear in him. Fear I recognized because it also lived quietly inside me. "Aiden," I whispered, "I don't care about your past. I care about your heart." His breath hitched, so quiet I almost didn't hear it. "You really mean that?" "Yes." Another silence. But this time it was warm. Then his voice came, low and unsteady. "Then I want to come even more." My pulse raced. But before I could respond, he said, "There's still something else." I froze. "Another secret? What is it?" I asked. "Maya, I didn't send only one Christmas box when I was a kid." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "I sent 5 to different countries, but you're the only one who ever messaged me." He took a slow breath. "And you're the only one I hoped would." My heart stuttered. Hard. "Why me?" I whispered. There was a long, long pause. Finally, he said, "Because when I looked at your message, when I heard your voice, I felt something I haven't felt in years." My chest tightened. "Aiden," and that's what scares me, because wanting this, wanting you, feels like believing in something again, and believing in things has always ended badly for me. My throat closed. I was about to speak when his voice hardened, gentle but firm. "Maya, before I decide anything, I need to know one thing." My breath caught. "What is it?" He inhaled sharply, like he was bracing himself. "Are you scared of me coming?" I froze. Was I? Yes, but not for the reasons he imagined. I whispered, "I'm scared of what this might become." A beat of silence. A beat where everything changed. "Maya," he said slowly, voice trembling but certain, "that's exactly why I need to come." Before I could respond, a message alert flashed on my screen from my mother's doctor. "We need to talk about your mother's condition. Come tomorrow morning." My blood ran cold. I stared at the notification until it blurred. "Maya?" asked Aiden softly. "What's wrong?" I swallowed, hard. "Something happened," I whispered. "My mom, she might be worse than we thought." Aiden's breath caught. "Maya, do you want me to come now?" I closed my eyes. Rain began to fall, soft, cold, slow. "Aiden," my voice broke. "I don't know if I want you to come or if I need you to." And the line went silent.
After I told him I didn't know whether I wanted him to come or needed him to, the line went painfully silent. The rain outside grew heavier, drumming against the tin roofs like 1,000 fingers tapping anxiously. I wrapped my free arm around myself, suddenly cold, suddenly aware of how fragile everything felt. Finally, after a long, breathless pause, Aiden's voice returned. "Maya," he said softly, "tell me what's going on." My mother's doctor messaged. They want to see me tomorrow morning. It sounds serious." Aiden exhaled sharply, worried, helpless, frustrated. "Do you want to talk about it?" "I don't even know what to say. I'm scared. That's all I know. That's enough," he said gently. "That's more than enough." Something in the way he said it, quiet, steady, soothed a tiny slice of the fear clawing at my ribs. But then he spoke again, voice low and careful, and about what you said earlier, about not knowing if I want you to come. I squeezed my eyes shut. Here it was. The conversation I wasn't ready for. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Everything is happening so fast. My mother, you, this connection. I don't want to make a decision out of panic. "I understand." But his voice held something tight, something contained. I pulled in a shaky breath. "Aiden, I don't want to push you away." "I know. And I don't want you to think I don't want you here." "I know. But I also don't want to," my voice cracked, "depend on someone who might not want to stay." Silence. A silence that hurt. When he finally spoke, his words were different. Slower, heavier. "Maya," he said softly, "if I come, it's because I want to. Not because you need me, not because you're scared, and not because fate is pushing us together." I blinked, the rain blurring my vision even though I wasn't crying. He continued, "I don't want to be an escape to you. I want to be a choice." My throat tightened. "I'm not trying to make you a solution. I'm trying to figure out where my fear ends and where my heart begins." Another silence. This one softer, more wounded. Then he said, "Tell me what your heart says." My breath trembled. "My heart says," I pressed a hand to my chest, "that you feel important, that you feel familiar, like something I was supposed to find." The quiet sound he made, something between relief and disbelief, hit me like a small warmth in the middle of a cold night. But I added, "My fear says, this is too fast, too much, too risky." He inhaled deeply. "I get it. Maybe we both need time." "Yes." Another pause. "But time," he added, "won't change the truth." "What truth?" "That I want to meet you." My pulse fluttered. "I want to see the world you grew up in. I want to know your family. I want to see your coastline. I want to hear your voice without a phone between us." My shoulders sagged, overwhelmed by the intimacy in his confession. "Maya, I'm not running from this. I'm not running like my dad did." I felt that sentence like a strike to the heart. But then he said something that made my stomach drop. "But if you tell me not to come, I won't." The rain outside softened. The world held its breath. I opened my mouth, wanting to say the right thing, something honest, something brave. But before I could speak, my phone battery flashed red. 1%! "No, no, no!" I muttered, panic rising. "Maya?" Aiden's voice sharpened. "What's happening?" "My phone! It's dying! Plug it in! Hurry!" But the nearest outlet was at home. "I have to run. I'm breathless. Please don't hang up." I sprinted through the rain, feet splashing through puddles, heart pounding so violently it drowned out everything else. "Maya, listen," Aiden said urgently, "before the line cuts." But the screen went black. My phone died. The call ended. I stood there, in the rain, breathless, drenched, shaking, feeling the weight of everything that had gone unsaid. By the time I reached home and plugged my phone in, it was too late. When it powered back on, 3 missed messages appeared from Aiden. The first, don't panic. I know you didn't hang up on purpose. The second, I keep thinking about what you said, about not knowing if you want me to come or if you need me to. And the third, the one that made my hands go cold. I made my decision. I'm coming. I stared at the screen. My breath froze. He was coming? Just like that? My heartbeat skittered, uneven and terrified and full of something dangerously close to hope. A fourth message appeared before I could type a response. I booked the flight. My knees weakened. No, I whispered. No, he didn't. I opened the message. A screenshot. A flight confirmation. His name. My country. Arrival? 2 days from now. I sank onto the edge of my bed, pressing a shaking hand to my forehead. He was really coming. He was crossing oceans. He was stepping into my world, into my family's struggle, into the chaos I wasn't ready to let him see. Before I could gather a single coherent thought, the phone buzzed again. A video call request. Aiden. My heart stopped. I answered. He appeared on the screen, hair tousled, cheeks flushed like he'd been running, eyes alive with something fierce and fragile. Maya, he breathed. I need to say this while I still have the courage. I swallowed hard. He looked straight into the camera, straight into me. I'm not coming because you need me. My chest tightened. I'm coming because I choose you. My breath broke. But listen carefully, he continued, voice trembling not with uncertainty, but with truth. If I show up and you decide you don't want this, don't want us, I will respect that. I'll walk away. I won't make things harder for you. A tear slipped down my cheek. But I have to try, he whispered. For the first time in years, something feels right. You feel right. My throat closed. Aiden. I could only manage a whisper. He leaned closer to the camera, his voice barely audible. I'll see you soon, unless you tell me not to. I parted my lips, a single breath away from speaking. But then, my mother called my name from the other room, voice strained with pain. I flinched. Aiden's eyes widened. Maya, what's happening? I have to go, I whispered. Maya, wait, tell me. Do you want me to come? He asked, voice raw, desperate, breaking. I stood frozen between two worlds, my mother's voice behind me, Aiden's voice before me, my heart suspended in the impossible choice between fear and longing. And then I said one word, the word that would decide everything. Yes. His eyes closed, a trembling exhale leaving him. But when he opened them, there was fear. Real fear. Maya, if I come, everything changes. I know, I whispered. His jaw tightened. Maya, there's something you still don't know. Something I haven't told you. My pulse skittered. Aiden, what is it? He swallowed. Then he said the words that would haunt me for days. Maya, the man you think I am, he might not be the man who gets off that plane. Aiden's final message replayed in my mind for the next 2 days. The man you think I am, he might not be the man who gets off that plane. I didn't sleep much. Between my mother's worsening condition and the whirlwind of emotions wrapped inside Aiden's arrival, every breath felt like standing on the edge of something enormous. But somehow, morning still came, and with it, the day he would land. My mother insisted on sitting up when she heard he was coming. He crossed an ocean for you, she whispered weakly, adjusting her blanket. At least let him see you're strong. I kissed her forehead. I don't feel strong. You don't have to feel it, she said gently. You just have to show up. I held her hand for a long time, because she was right. Showing up is its own kind of courage. By mid-afternoon, I stood in the arrivals hall of the airport, heart pounding hard enough to shake my ribs. Travelers poured through the sliding doors, families, tourists, business people, faces full of expectation and exhaustion. But not him. Not yet. I gripped the strap of my bag, staring at the long corridor beyond immigration. Every time someone walked out, my pulse jumped. Every time a stranger walked past, my stomach tightened. And then I saw him. A tall figure stepping through the crowd, head slightly bowed, duffel bag slung over one shoulder. His eyes scanned the room nervously. His posture was tense, like someone waiting to be judged. But the moment he saw me, his entire body softened. The duffel bag dropped to the floor with a heavy thud. His hand covered his mouth, And his eyes, those tired, aching, beautiful eyes, filled with something like relief and something like disbelief. As for me, my breath left me all at once. He was real, more real than the photograph, more real than his voice, more real than the late night calls, than the confessions, than the fear. Aiden, I whispered. He walked toward me slowly at first, then faster, as if he feared I might disappear. When he stopped in front of me, he didn't touch me. He didn't pull me close. He simply stood there, trembling slightly, searching my face with a kind of reverence I didn't expect. Finally, he whispered, "You're you." A laugh escaped me, shaky, emotional, overwhelmed. "And you're you." His eyes closed briefly, like he needed that moment to steady himself. "Maya, I need you to know something before anything else." I nodded, throat tight. This was the secret behind his warning, the thing he feared would change everything.
He swallowed hard. I haven't lived a life I'm proud of. I've made mistakes. I've been lost. I've been angry. I've pushed people away. I've doubted everything, especially myself. He stepped closer. But when you found me, when you showed me that picture, it made me realize something I didn't expect. "What?" I whispered. His voice trembled. That the boy I used to be might still be in there somewhere. My eyes burned. "Aiden." And I was terrified, because what if you saw the mess I've made of my life and regretted reaching out? What if you looked at me and didn't see the boy who gave you hope, but a man who lost his own? I took a breath, then another. Then I stepped closer too. "Aiden," I whispered, "I didn't come here to meet perfection. I came here to meet you. Whatever that means, whatever that looks like." His face crumpled, and suddenly his hands were on my shoulders, gentle but trembling. "Are you sure?" he whispered. "Are you really sure?" Instead of answering, I reached into my bag and pulled out the photograph. The old, worn edges, the faded ink, the boy with a fragile smile holding a drawing that said, "Never lose hope." I held it between us. This is still you. Maybe not all of you, maybe not every part, but enough. His eyes filled with tears, real ones. "Maya." I took his hand, warm, shaking, and placed the photograph in it. "You don't have to become someone new to be worthy. You just have to become someone honest." His breath broke, and then, finally, he pulled me into his arms. Not fast, not desperate, just real. A quiet, trembling embrace that felt like a home neither of us had ever known. And as the airport noise blurred in the background, as our worlds collided in that fragile, sacred moment, I felt something settle inside me. We weren't strangers anymore. We weren't fate's experiment. We were two people choosing each other, imperfectly, intentionally, bravely. Over the next week, everything shifted. Aiden met my mother, holding her hand gently, listening to her stories with a tenderness that surprised even me. He walked my coastline with me, ate the food I grew up on, learned the rhythm of the village like he'd been meant to see it all along. He confessed more of his past. I confessed my fears. We cried. We laughed. We rebuilt hope in small, honest pieces. One night, sitting on the beach with our feet buried in the cool sand, he said the words that changed everything. "Maya, I don't want our story to end with finding each other. I want it to begin with helping others." I looked at him, heart full. "What do you mean?" He smiled softly. "Let's send boxes, like the one I sent you, together, every Christmas, to kids who need hope the way you once did, the way I once did." My throat tightened. "A legacy of possibility, of hope," he said. We turned toward each other.
the ocean breathing in and out behind us. And for the first time, it didn't feel like fate brought us together. It felt like choice. Before I end this story, thank you for listening, for holding space for real hearts and real stories. If this touched you, I'd love if you left a comment telling me where you're watching from. And subscribe to Possible Hearts so more stories like this can reach the people who need them. Because sometimes the smallest gesture, a photograph, a message, a childhood gift, can become the beginning of something extraordinary. Real stories, real hearts, real possibilities. Thank you for being here.